Good Boys Gone Bland, Season 6, Episode 2, The Last Thing He Wanted. I almost forgot the movie name. I'm your co-host, Denali.
I'm your co-host. We're going co-host. I'm your co-host, Ryan.
I am your co-host, Jace. And the last thing that I wanted was to not have to prepare my stuff to move after this. That's the last thing that I wanted.
Oh yeah,
Jace.
that's right. Because you're one man, two places right now.
Yeah, which should be exciting.
But it's
You're
not.
recording out of your old apartment, I noticed, Jace. Like,
Yeah.
are you? I thought you're still moving.
We're moving. All of my heavy things are getting picked up tomorrow. Next week will be pending any setbacks in some rewiring of the house. I will be recording in the basement.
Okay,
Ooh,
sweet.
basement,
Every
though.
podcaster's dream,
Yeah,
is
it's
to have a basement recording studio.
Because right now you're above ground.
Technically, I will still be above ground because it's just the ground floor.
No, that's not a real basement. Acoustics are so much better underground with no windows. Well, I figured we should also probably say, and I noticed listening to old episodes, maybe at the top of the podcast we should start saying like what we are and what we do.
Oh, I got it. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah.
And I'm
okay.
I balance things on my nose and chin. I can do my chin as well. Like rakes and shovels, I can do pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
brooms,
other objects?
Brooms.
Yeah, brooms.
Anything that's like, top heavy.
That's cool. Jace, do you have any talents?
I can drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
I saw that
That's cool.
jar
That's
you're
yeah.
hauling around.
That's a good. That's a good amount.
I'm drinking out of a jar with a metal straw, which if you leave in the audio.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh God. I'm like a really good competitive eater. Kind of going along with what Jay said with drinking, but I can eat not a lot fast, but I can eat some amount for a long period of time. Like I can just continuously eat for a long time, like kind of like a marathon eater. Those events aren't really common, but whenever they are, like I'll show up, eat for about 5 straight days, and that's usually pretty cool.
Well,
So
I think
that's something I do.
if you can eat for about 8 hours,
Yeah.
then you can eat forever, right? Because like if you can
I think
eat
so.
the
Once you
length
get
of your
past the wall.
digestive tract.
Oh, I see. So as it clears, you can continue filling
Yeah,
it.
there's probably an upper limit where you pass a threshold and you never have to, come down to where us mortals lie again.
So you think that we can eat slow enough to where it'll never be out of balance?
So
At that point, we're just a food tube.
as a throwback, if we made a really long Subway tube sandwich,
Oh, okay.
you could just find out how fast you needed to
Make the sandwich?
make the sandwich be pushed into your mouth to just continuously feed.
Yes, I think what episode was this? Was our body horror? Was it our Matrix episode where we designed like a continuous food poop tube? Do you guys remember?
I have no idea.
Well, as we were saying too, in addition to our talents, we're also a podcast who watches 10 movies.
Is that what you meant?
We watch 10 movies of a particular actor or subject. This mini-series we have going on is with Anne Hathaway. We're on our second Anne Hathaway movie. We started off with a banger with The Devil Wears Prada, and we're continuing with the something with The Last Thing He Wanted. See, this title is challenging for me. Like, I don't know about you guys, but did you forget like what it was called multiple times?
Yeah, my search history has Anne Hathaway Ben Affleck movie in it at least 6 times.
So I've thought about this quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is none of those words themselves are special. So there's not like
totally
a
bland.
single word that you can pick out. Like it's pretty long, and I've tried to name things as well, like books and things like that.
Right.
And there's a balance between long titles and interesting titles, right? Because like long is descriptive, and so you can kind of give the audience more of what they want, and that's okay. You can do that as long as like one or more words are exciting.
Like
Right.
we call ourselves the GBGBs, not 3
The good
mid-20s
boys
dudes
Don
who-
Bland who review movies every week.
That sounds like a Sufjan Stevens song. I mean, he literally has like songs that are like, concerning the UFO sighting near Highland, Illinois, or like it'll just be like multiple sentences, and that works.
But those words are cool.
Those are cool words. This is also based on obviously a famous Joan Didion novel as well. You guys ever read any
I didn't know that.
Joan Didion? Yeah.
That's news to me.
I think we talked about that last time, and all three of us were like, "Who's Joan Didion?"
Who the fuck? Just uncultured bastards. I actually added a couple of her books to my Goodreads because I was like, oh shit, like winner of multiple awards, Presidential Medal Freedom, like things like that. And I was like, shit, I should read into this. Apparently, fans of the book were not psyched about this movie, and also fans of movies
We're not
shared
psyched about this movie.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not a great title, I think. Like, do you guys have a better title idea for this? I mean, with all respect to Joan Didion, who's a better writer, but we can probably figure out a good title. We're pretty good title guys, I think.
I think if the movie did it better, it would be
More memorable.
Yeah, because to me, talk about the movie here, it points to the last thing that her father wanted.
Exactly.
Maybe. So that what I would describe as an incoherent mess of this movie doesn't make that too abundantly clear. And if you don't know what it's about, you're not going to know that Anne Hathaway's father plays a significant portion, and then it matters.
Do you guys think
and like
it's,
so like the word he actually represents somebody, right? That's a
Yeah.
pronoun. Why not say like the last thing my father wanted? If you're gonna go this terrible, name route, like if you're gonna make if you absolutely want it to be the last thing blank wanted, why not say
Last
like
thing
my
my
father?
homophobic gun runner father wanted.
Yeah, no, or like the gun runner. And also
the gun runner?
the sentence, the last thing he wanted, could imply that this is their least favorite outcome. Well, that's the last thing he wanted.
Yeah.
Like it's not clear what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah, what they should have had, what they should have done in the movie is have a scene where Anne Hathaway looks at the camera and she's like, "Oh no, that's the last thing he wanted," and then boom, memorable title because it's in the movie. Like what they did in Avatar, where they were like, "What is this? Some kind of Avatar thing?" And that kind of cemented it in your mind that it's Avatar. What are we? Some kind of Titanic? And that's what makes a really good movie title. Maybe
That's
they
what
could have
makes
called
it that they
Yeah.
say it. What are we? Some kind of blank.
Well, I was giving an example of like movies where
What
they've
are we?
done
Some
that.
kind
Like,
of Shawshank Redemption?
They could have called it. I mean, for movies, I think in particular, you need to have a catching title. Like I think maybe the title works as a book because I think it's just a more patient title. But a movie got to be like Contra gun seller.
Yeah, and like this is the thing with the new Batman movie. It's called The Batman, right?
Right.
And we and Julie have been talking
That's
about
hot.
whether or not we're gonna go to it for a long time, like the last few weeks, and we just keep forgetting. And then she'll be like, "Do you want to go see Batman this weekend?" Oh, sorry, I meant The Batman. And I'm like, I know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about, Julie?
Batman?
You mean the 1989 Michael Keaton movie?
Like, there's only one Batman movie out right now. Like, and so that's not so much like a problem. But when you say like, okay, do you want to go see The Last Thing He Wanted? What? Like what?
Yeah.
No,
I have no idea what that is.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Hey,
You think?
let's just pretend I'm an English teacher in high school.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't name the title of your essay. Don't put the in it.
Yeah.
Wait, was that a rule? Was that a rule, or were you not supposed to? I might be convoluting something there.
You might be thinking of and.
And.
Oh, don't start
essay?
a don't start a
The.
sentence with and. Never mind.
Don't start a sentence with the.
The is okay, right? If there's one thing, if you're talking about one thing, it's like a singular group of something, and if it's some sort of like mythical, because like the Once Upon a Time there was a blank. Like if it fits into that kind of format, then you can go with like like Batman. Once upon a time there was this crazy rich dude and he went around town and beat people up. Okay, that's the Batman. Like you can do it like that.
It's okay to use the as long as you're starting your essay like the funny thing about Iran Contra is, and I think that kind of hooks you and it makes it sound better. You know what would be daring is if they instead of just saying the Batman, because I feel like they imply Batman so much in Batman titles, even The Dark Knight. What if they just call it like the And
It's like,
just let people kind of foment like with the imagery.
like you want to
You
go
know
see
what?
you want to go see Batman? You mean the?
You mean the fucking idiot? Or just call it something else, like the night at the opera, because it's referring to his parents who died.
How
And
has
it's just yeah.
how has nobody done that?
Are you looking through Batman movie titles?
No, I mean like any movie title. Like that would be kind of
That'd be pretty like
that'd be pretty
cool.
catchy. From like if somebody was like, "Oh, I'm going to see the," I'd be like, "What are you?"
What? What the fuck is that? And it's a Batman movie? Are you shitting me? Like this must be crazy.
That's kind of what Jordan Peele was going with when he did Us, right?
Yeah,
And
but it's
what's
not,
the new one?
Aliens.
Nope. It's called Nope.
Nope. Yeah.
That is pretty good. But like with the iconography, I mean, can you imagine if Iron Man was called like Missile Man with Heart Condition or something, you know? And then that's kind of catches people's attention. Anyways, a lot to think about with this particular film. This has Anne doing a lot of really interesting things, I think, doing things kind of outside of, I think if she has a typecast, I feel like she's doing things that are pretty different.
I'll agree.
But she's also having to bluff a lot in this movie, where she's having to kind of inhabit a different type of character, if you know what I mean. And then in the spirit of that, I wanted to see how good we are at bluffing and inhabiting characters. So what I've done
It's been a while.
is it's been a while, and I don't know how rusty we are at inhabiting these characters and having to improvise on the spot. You know, relationships and who you are as a person, but also your relationship with the other person as well. So what I've done is I brought up caniget.com, and I also have a couple other resources to use to kind of fill in, because I feel like we've used Can I Get A so much that some things are starting to show up again,
It's
like
so
vampire and werewolf and spaceship.
for our new listeners.
Yeah.
Caniget.com is a improv scenario generator.
Yeah.
So
I mean, who
Denali
the
isn't
fuck-
just a psychopath who
Yeah.
comes up with these like kind of questionable
Well-
scenarios sometimes.
I mean, who the fuck is coming on, like, first episode is The Last Thing He Wanted. They're like, oh, I'm a really big Last Thing He Wanted head. Love that movie. Gonna finally check out these guys' podcast about it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're the only people who made a podcast about it. But I wanted to test your guys' metal. How long has it been since we did this?
It's been over a month. It's been probably 2 months.
Yeah. And just like working out, like we said, you want to at least work out once a month to keep in shape, just like astronauts do. So here's what we can do. We can create a bunch of scenarios. Maybe we can do like a round robin. You know, we can do like Ryan and Jace and me and Ryan, and then that way each of us goes twice. We can just kind of do a quick thing and see how we do this. All right. So first scenario, I'm on caniget.com. This is going to give me a location, relationship, and word. But I also might change it up a little bit. Maybe make things a little topical. Hopefully not. All right, let's see here.
So I just curious.
Yeah, of course.
You know, what are the odds that I can be topless Ben Affleck?
You know what? I'm going to put it in the randomizer pile, and we'll see. So we'll have you guys do this improv comedy scene. I know it's been a while since I've coached you guys, so just remember the most important aspects of improv. One, obviously, is say it with me. Yes,
No,
and no, Ryan, it's yes, and then
Yes.
also
Sand.
Ye sand.
Ye
I've
sand.
got
Yes
ye
to sand.
sand.
if there's any opportunity to introduce sand in the scene, take it immediately, okay? The next rule is, establish the game, figure out the relationship. That's kind of the biggest thing that makes the scenes work. If for example, I'm a sand dealer and you're someone who wants sand, we have to figure out a relationship. Maybe, you're my brother-in-law or something, and that makes the sand ordeal kind of more entertaining. Does that make
How
sense,
would
Brian?
that-
You look confused.
How would that make it more entertaining?
Because we have a relationship, it's hijinks ensue. Maybe I'm obliged to give him a sand discount.
Oh, I've always been approaching every single
Yeah.
improv session like we're 100% complete strangers.
Well, you can do strangers too, but it's up to you how you want to color the scene. But
Strangers
the
still
important
have
thing,
a relationship,
yeah,
Ryan.
Your relationship is strangers. And
I've
you
never
can
had
establish.
that. I've never really done that.
Haven't you talked to someone in like a line at a bank or like a mall and just started, just talking about
Oh, I
whatever's
thought you were
in the
saying something
tabloids?
else. Yeah.
Huh, okay, so I'm gonna click location, gonna click location. This is gonna be for you and Jace, Brian and Jace. This is gonna be for you guys. Okay. The location is flooding basement. We got a flooding basement. A little bit of urgency here, okay? And then the relationship between you two. You have a dog food chef and a cat food chef. All right? And the key word here, the word you have to work in to the conversation is church. All right? Let's take it from the top. Remember the scene and action.
I totally stopped listening.
There's
when
a
you said
lot
the
of
keyword.
stuff going on.
What's the keyword?
It's church.
Church.
Oh, okay. What country should it be from? Okay.
What?
Hello. I've got some sand here. It looks like you got a hole. I just came from the church. We put a bag of sand.
End scene. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, that was great. That was a great scene. Ryan, I love the energy. Jace, I could use a little more out of you, okay? So don't let Ryan dominate the scene. So this is important, but you know what? This is okay. This is our first scene. I'm going to have you guys take another crack at it. Same scenario, same energy.
Okay.
Let's just get to the word church as fast as possible. First person there wins.
Well, maybe not. Let's work towards church. Church is like the climax of the scene. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And then maybe let's also experiment with different accents too. Like maybe you don't have to do the same one with this scene, or you can.
Want me to do,
it's up to you.
I can do Burmese.
Just whatever comes naturally in this scene. All right, remember, dog food and cat food
I'll do
chef.
Scottish.
Okay. Scene.
Hello, I'm from Scotland. I cook cat food, and we come from the church. I win. I destroyed him.
Okay, I'm gonna pick a different word because I think there's some issues.
I destroyed him. He didn't even say a single word before I said church.
Okay, the new word is gloves. You're in a flooding fucking basement.
Yeah.
And you guys are gonna do this goddamn scene. Ryan, you're gonna let Jace speak in this scene, or you're gonna be ejected.
There was like 5
Listen.
seconds of silence.
You're like fucking Daniel Day-Lewis over here. You gotta let other people act. All right.
I'll be from the South.
Oh, is your character saying that right now? Sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Ready and action.
Hello, I'm from the South of England. Would you like some cat food?
God damn it.
No, it's wet and it's soggy because it's flooded down here.
Oh, I'm blind.
You're blind too, a blind chef.
Yes. Where are we?
Is that why you can only feed your food to cats?
Yes. I'm a normal chef, but they only allow cats to eat it.
Oh.
I don't know what ingredients I'm using most of the time. You'd be surprised what feels like a potato.
This might come as a surprise, but I'm also deaf. I am also blind, and I make food for dogs.
Okay, hold on. I'll recover. This got me so good.
Let's get to cooking. Slap.
Oh, the slap shop was... Oh, scene. Then that's scene. He said he didn't even say the word. He onomatopoeia'd the word.
He implied gloves. Okay, nice. All right, good job, guys. You established the characters. It was a short and sweet scene. You know what? I like it. I like it too. Not every scene needs to go so long, as some of our audience members have said.
We're in a basement, and we're two
Yeah.
people who sell things that are extremely similar. Oh,
And we're both blind.
And we're both
Yeah, and you're
blind.
both-
One of us might be deaf.
And sometimes that's all you need. What? All right. So the next one, I guess I'll do with Jace.
Oh, okay.
If we're doing a round robin.
Want me to randomize it?
Yeah. Do you want to do a Can I Get A? Ryan, and do you remember how to do this?
Yes.
Guys,
Those
the first one came out was amazing, okay?
Okay. What is it?
So, the location is
Yes.
Moonbase Bravo. And the relationship is a giant and a golden goose.
Oh, okay.
And the secret word is oats. And action.
Hey, come, Jerry, get back here.
You can't
Jerry,
catch
we
me.
need you.
Wah!
Why do you feel the need to run from me, Jerry?
Because I hate being on this moon. There aren't any other geese up here. It's just you, you giant. Wah!
Listen, you know what you signed up for, Jerry. Okay? When we signed on to this moon mission, I said, I know just the guy to come with me, and he's a goose. And you knew there was gonna be no other geese up here,
I
right?
miss it, man. There's no pond here.
Yeah.
There's no grass. Wah!
Listen, we need you to keep making the eggs to power our reactors.
You know how I make these eggs?
I guess I've never asked you how you make these eggs. It just seems like something that always
I have to eat.
seems to come.
I have to
Okay.
eat. And back home, I could make all the eggs that I wanted.
A little pointed.
Because I could go wherever I wanted. There was DoorDash. There was Uber
You could
Eats.
go where-
Wah!
You have no idea how to use those things, okay? You think it's easy for me to be up here? It's
Tell me.
no other giants. There's no other giants up here. You think I'm psyched about that? Having hang out with a fucking goose all day?
Oh, see? I knew it was personal.
Okay. All right.
I knew you said you wanted me up here. And then 2 weeks go by, and I'm stuck in the kitchen shoving my face full of fucking oats to shit out these eggs. Wah!
And scene. Wow.
Yeah, I think we got it. That was like Marriage Story
That was good.
with yeah.
I can.
Did you feel the
now that
intensity?
I said scene? Can you guys just keep going? But it doesn't have to be that. No pressure now to make it funny. I just want to hear more about Jerry and the
Yeah.
giant.
Jerry, what do you want from me? Do you want to go back home? Is that it? You want to abandon
I want to eat
this mission?
a succulent Chinese meal.
They're probably gonna be up here in like 10 years.
What, you think we can just wait on SpaceX to bring Uber Eats to space? Wah!
It wasn't easy convincing Jeffrey Bezos to bring a giant and a goose into space, but we are the first giant and goose in space. All right, so next
About a
scene.
scene.
Let's,
all I can think about is the Chinese.
Now you
succulent
guys
Chinese
actually,
meal.
you got into the logistics of there actually
Yeah.
being a giant and a goose on the moon.
okay. I guess it's me and Ryan
Oh, this will be
to
good.
complete the round robin.
Okay. The scenario
Yes.
is wine tasting. The relationship is drunk college student and old man with an imminent heart attack.
Okay.
Where's the location?
That's wine. Oh,
wine
excuse
tasting.
me. Oh, environment. It on a train. The line is, "I'm sorry, I haven't been listening to a word you said."
So wine tasting. Just
What?
to get my brain straight.
Wine tasting on a train. College student.
kid and
Man
old
about to.
Wait, wine tasting on a train?
Yeah.
Old man, imminent heart attack. Okay.
We're good.
Okay. Just say scene when you want us to go.
Scene.
Yo, I totally just spilled the Zinfandel.
Benny, I know you're having a fun time, but I need to tell you something.
What? Me?
Yeah, Benny, we're the only two people in this train car.
Are you
Listen,
sure? I totally
I
just
think
saw
that-
some guy.
Okay, you might have at some point, but please, Benny,
Is
I
this
don't know if
what
I
is
have
this?
a lot of.
Is this a cabinet? What does this say? You got it from a
I
cabinet?
I think it says
Oh.
wine. I don't know. Benny,
I don't understand.
please, I feel the fading light.
Cabernet Sauv. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it's a
man.
Sauvignon.
What?
It's a Sauvignon, Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a pretty nice mid-tier wine.
Hell
But
yeah,
anyways, I
dude.
digress. Benny, I don't have a lot of energy left.
Oh,
I need
hella,
to
man.
tell you this about your father. Listen,
Oh,
do you remember your
God.
father?
No, man. That guy was always he wanted
Yeah.
me to go to that, state.
Listen, I'm
Dude, I didn't wanna
familiar.
go to
Benny,
state,
Oh, yeah. Listen,
Jenny was over here. Benny and Jenny, man.
he just wanted you to know before he passed
What?
that he loved you very much.
Okay.
And all he wanted was for you to not be like him. He made so
Well,
many
hell
mistakes.
no, man. I didn't go to state.
Yeah, And anyways, he was also
Yeah.
saying that
What?
he wants you to follow your
Can
path.
I get some more Zinfandel?
And
Hey, one
you know,
second.
I'm
this
sorry,
dark-
I haven't been listening to a word you're saying.
God damn it, Benny.
And scene.
I feel like I've been a part of 2 great dramas today, and if I don't get at least a nom, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
Wait, do we have to apply ourselves?
I think I probably have to campaign a little bit, but like I feel like this is right after the Oscars for us.
Was that a rom-drom?
what we just did?
Yeah. What was the relationship between the man?
Why are you always inserting rom into every? It's not.
You
There's
said
nothing to
drom.
do with.
You said the
Yeah,
word
this is a drom. There's not a rom-drom. There was nothing romantic in anything we did.
Calm.
I mean,
it was
could,
a calm
it could
drom.
be implied. Okay, fine. It's a calm drom. Okay, we did it, guys. I think that was a good round robin. I think we inhabited some characters back there, and maybe some good pitches for a screenplay. I don't think we owe Can I
That
Get
wine
It?
tasting one was
We
great.
fleshed it out. That was great. Like I was like telling you some deep shit. I was gonna get into like a whole conspiracy that your dad was a part of, and then I think that's a great premise for a movie. It's like those 90-minute movies where it takes place in one room, and at the end he dies of a heart attack because he keeps getting interrupted.
That's actually not
mean,
bad. That's like trying to get through someone's
Yeah.
will reading or something, and the family's just a bunch of dicks. Oh, it's basically Knives Out.
Yeah, it is. Like I like the concept of a movie that just wastes your fucking time. Like you
Like
just,
this movie we watched this week?
Well, yeah. And speaking of that, do we just want to get into it? Like I feel like there's plenty to talk about with this movie.
Yeah. It's time.
I think
it's time-
It's Jace's synopsis, huh?
It is Jace's
Yeah.
synopsis. Jace's pick this week as well.
Yeah, dude. Seriously?
Yeah, this
I-
movie was
I
the
can't-
last
I
thing
can't-
I wanted.
I can't blame you for the Ben, though. I mean,
We also, as Jace said, we've seen her at a high point, and we also wanted to see the lower bounds, like we've done with other actors and other themes as well. And I hope this is the lowest. But Jace, feel free to sweep us away with that synopsis.
Kept thinking that Ben Affleck was gonna argo my impression of this movie, and he didn't. Okay. We watched this week The Last Thing He Wanted, a Netflix original running 1 hour and 55 minutes, starring Anne Hathaway, Ben Affleck, Rosie Perez, Willem Dafoe, and many other people. Oh, Toby Jones.
Toby
Yeah,
Jones,
he
he was
gets
great. Yeah,
shot.
chewing the scenery. Yeah.
And really, what we've got here is Anne Hathaway's playing a hard-hitting journalist during the 80s and 90s that's covering the U.S. interaction with Nicaragua. And, yeah, her, her dad
this
is
is a
a
hard-
drug runner, and she does his last job for him.
He was a gun runner.
Gun runner, and then gets paid and something.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck works for the government, and
Oh.
What did you get? What was the new information? Right.
and then finally, of course, there's antics, and that's it. She's
Yeah.
a journalist,
Yeah.
and there's
Hijinks.
antics.
and hijinks ensue. Is kind of
Hijinks ensue. Awkward. Yeah, Jace, that's honestly because this is so hard to synopsisize, man. Like at the end of this movie, I think pretty much everyone had the same impression. You guys probably even saw some reviews where people are just like, "What the fuck was that 2 hours?" That was a lot of talking and a lot of things, but altogether, I don't know if that was anything. Like, did you guys have like a first impression coming out?
Yeah, my first impression was it freaking sucked. Like, underneath everything, there's a compelling story, right? And then they chose to obfuscate it as much as possible. Like, spy movies, this is kind of what I would consider maybe like a spy political thriller, right?
Mm-hmm.
The obfuscation is always part of the equation, where like the characters don't know everything that's going on, or the audience doesn't know everything that's going on. But in this, the big reveals were like,
What? I remember my dad said something like that when I was in the 2nd grade.
and it's like, and what he said was the third line from this poet's fifth thesis, and it's like, Jesus, just tell us what you want us to know. Like every single character spoke in these like really I don't even know the words. I can use simple words. People spoke too much.
Yeah, not very
Confusing
clearly.
words.
Yeah.
Few words do trick.
Yeah, Jace, what was your first reaction to this?
My first reaction, my very first note, and the only note I think that I took that wasn't related to the character's makeup was the opening monologue and my question, what in the absolute fuck is she talking about?
Yeah, so that's the thing too, is like they took lines from the book
Yeah.
and just read them over the movie. But books and movies do different things, right? Like when you're reading a book, you can actually like analyze the order of words and you can see the words. But like if you string too many vocab words together and make it too poetic in a movie,
Yeah.
it doesn't work because the audience doesn't have time to process it. We're also processing visuals at the same time. And the words need to be related to the visuals for the audience to know anything about what you're trying to say. And this, it was just random clips from her life. And then it was like essentially like random sentences read over them. So there was no meaning
Yeah.
that was like attributable to any action that any character was doing. So like the first 2 or 3 minutes of this movie were absolutely worthless. And I think the movie would actually be better without them. Like compare it to the beginning of Goodfellas or at the beginning of The Departed. The opening line of Goodfellas is, "Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be
I
a gangster."
love gangster stuff.
Yeah, like so, like, and then it's showing him as a kid. It's like, oh, okay, he's gonna do gangster stuff even though he's a child.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to like the narration, I mean, we talked about this too. Like after the narration, I was like, am I having a fucking stroke right
Yes.
now? Because it was just so much being thrown at you. The director Dee Reese mentioned that she wanted to kind of keep as much as possible the original prose from the book. So Ryan, like you were saying, like it doesn't translate well to film. She was like, there's a machine gun clarity to the prose of, you know, the original Joan Didion novel. But like, man, that shit does not like work well as a voiceover narration. I thought my only thought during all the narrations in the movie was Anne Hathaway's delivering this well, but I have no idea what she's talking about. And they're all kind of phrases that are like, money in, money out, typewriters clacking, I'm walking through doors. Like, it's just free association. Very confusing, and I think a lot of the dialogue matched a similar pattern.
You ever see a monkey drive? Buckle up. It's going to get bananas. What?
And that's like the most cohesive thing. Like, what are they talking about? They're actually not talking about driving. They're not even talking about monkeys or bananas. They're talking about like, oh, the political situation right now is actually kind of like untenable.
Yeah.
You know, I would find it believable if the entire cast in the entire location was just based out of Minnesota, because I know a lot of Minnesotans that can talk in these random phrases and
right.
metaphors, and the cat's in the bag, but the bag's not in the river yet. But every character in this movie could have a coherent conversation with another person by saying these random words that it's like, what are you talking
I totally
about?
agree, Jace. And like, there was nobody that was the audience who was like a normal person who didn't talk like that
Yeah.
expressed some level of confusion about what was going on and then had to have things explained to them. I normally don't like that trope, but like, it'd be different if there was a character that was like, I hang out with a lot of writers. Like Anne Hathaway's a writer. You know, she's a journalist. She talks in weird ways that I don't understand. There's a lot of lingo, right? And so it would have been kind of nice to have, if you're going to have all these like weird sentences in the movie, give us a lifeline. Throw us a bone. Like say like, oh, you also don't understand what's going on? Let's have this normal person explain it to you.
You're telling me they're selling guns to Iran and then getting the money and sending them to the Contras? What? Yeah. Just one scene.
And like
literally the iced tea bit from John
seriously.
Mulaney.
The other thing is your experience with this movie drastically depends on how much you know about the Iran-Contra situation.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't explain it. It doesn't explain a single thing about who the Contras are. It doesn't explain why Iran is not even in this movie.
It's kind of just like a background fixture as well, because you think it's going to be like a hard-hitting, like The Post or something about Iran-Contra, and then all of a sudden you get hit with this Willem Dafoe side plot of she's a gun runner now, and then a couple other side plots as well. So I feel like the Iran Contra thing kind of dissolves quickly, but it's always kind of like this thing that is in the background. I don't know how central it was to the plot. But yeah, if you don't know what's going on, you don't know why she's in Nicaragua, why she has all these like leanings. I mean, yeah, it's bizarre. This movie is kind of like it's like those songs that kind of try to build towards something, or it's like a jazz song that gives you like no satisfaction, where it's just kind of bouncing.
And then it just fades out.
Yeah, and you think there's gonna be a payoff at the end, but there's no payoff. So you're like, wow, that was just like 2 straight hours of just denying me of anything.
And also, I have a question. So we talked about the title is terrible. The last thing, right? Like, because her father's dying, so the last thing he wanted is the father. The last thing is because he's dying. Okay, the dying father wanted something.
Yes.
What? What is the last thing he wanted?
He wanted to make some motherfucking money.
But that's the thing. It's like, I'm dying. I really just want to sell some more guns. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the last thing he wanted was probably like a cup of applesauce or something.
I like that. I liked Willem Dafoe's portrayal of the father because I think he, the producers, and us know he's a piece of shit.
Oh,
which
totally. Yeah, he did a
one,
really good job.
We've talked about that a lot. It's very important, especially with a lot of his dialogue. But I think he doesn't know he's dying, and unfortunately, we find out he's a con man, and he kind of ends up unwarily needing his daughter to do his job, and kind of cons her into accepting this to get the final payout. And I don't know if she says Anne Hathaway says in the movie, her character says she doesn't really know why she got involved, but really it was for the story that she'd been chasing for her whole life, and initially was to help her dad out. I thought that was kind of cute, kind of quaint.
But
wow,
also her dad was
way better than I did.
Her dad was also in trouble too. I mean, because he said he was $500K in the hole, and if he did not do this job, people are going to come looking for him, which ended up happening anyways because she didn't get the payout. So I think that type of push and pull was at least interesting. Like, there was some stakes. Yeah, I mean, Brian, it's okay because like I feel like everything in this movie was difficult to catch because everything was implied.
Well, and by that logic too, right? Like the last thing he wanted. Well, not really. Like what you mean there is like on his deathbed he has one last wish, but what you are actually saying is that there's a thing that he wanted, and it ended up being the last thing that he wanted because he died right after he told you that he wanted it.
Pretty much.
Because like, if he was alive, if he was still living, he still would have made another request, and then something else would have been the last thing that he wanted.
I mean, I think the implication is that he has dementia, and he might not be making a lot of requests. And I think, like, this is probably his last. Either. Yeah, I mean, you didn't catch the dementia?
Nope.
Because
you just thought he was just like that, where he was just because he forgot that his wife died multiple times in the movie.
He called his daughter his wife multiple times in the movie as well.
Oh, didn't catch that.
Yeah, well, that's okay because this movie's confusing AF. But yeah, like that was my interpretation was that he was on his way out mentally, and multiple times he keeps forgetting details about this job, and he keeps being like, "Oh yeah, tell her about Max Epperson and do all this other stuff," and things that maybe didn't quite line up for what she needed.
I did not catch that. Wow, he probably should have been the main character then, if everything depended on him.
Yeah, and I mean, does this make the movie any better for you, Ryan, to hear these details?
In fact, it makes it worse because then they didn't clearly evince those things to me, and like, why not make him go on the drug run or the gun run or whatever, and then he gets into a pickle because he goes there and he has a dementia episode or whatever, and he forgets why he's there. Like that would have been hilarious in a cosmic sort of hilarious way.
I mean, on paper, this movie should have been Oscar bait.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because you got amazing cast, first of all. You've got we talked about Ben Affleck, Anne Hathaway, Rosie Perez, Willem Dafoe, and then many others too, like Toby Jones. You also have Dee Rees, who's coming off of I think Mudbound, which was a pretty critically acclaimed Netflix original. And then you also have it's written by Joan Didion. So it's like you have adapted from a novel. Like this has Oscars written all over it. It's about fucking Iran Contra. It's about the press, which like Oscars love. And I think it got lost in the sauce. It was just 90 competing factions. Jace down in front.
Could we all agree that another film that was originally a novel by the name of Sahara, was better than this.
Yes, actually, I can straight up agree. Honestly, like Sahara, I think was coherent, at least somewhat. I mean, we talked about some of the incoherencies in Sahara. But yeah, I mean, I think Sahara. Fuck, that sounds like real sacrilegious to say, but this movie was a fucking mess. And we had mentioned it too. This is considered one of the most panned Netflix originals of all time. I think it has that title too.
And panned is bad.
Yeah, it's in the pan. It's frying, and it's not something
but like,
you want to be
it's
frying.
not when you knock somebody.
People say other things that I don't understand, like pariah. I think pariah is bad.
Isn't pariah mean like no one wants to talk to you because you're bad?
It's like the fish in the Amazon.
I think it's pad.
What?
What?
Piranha?
There's a pariah.
It's like pariah. It's like a piranha. You don't want to be with. You don't want to be in the water.
I always thought like it's not
with the
Messiah, it's pariah. But then there's a really good Mexican restaurant in Bend called Paria, and so that's good. So it's hard for me to remember.
I thought it was those kings that ruled in ancient Egypt.
No, those are Paroas.
I had a substitute teacher who called him a Parahoys. And it was like that, and then we all corrected her. We were in 4th grade, and we were like, "Sorry, miss," and I think this teacher was also in her 40s. Like she should have known better. And we were like, "Oh, it's actually Pharaoh," and then she's like, "I don't think so." Anyway, and she kept reading this thing. She's like, "Anyways, the Parahoys." I still remember that, like all these years later.
That's a boomer. That was a boomer then. Now imagine this many years later.
That was like the pre-internet. That wasn't even pre-internet, but like the pre-internet mentality of like, no, you're wrong. Anyways, moving on.
Also, I'm an adult.
Yes. What the fuck do you know, 10-year-old? This got Anne. We can talk about her performance, but this got her a double Razzie nom in 2021.
I think that's unfair.
I think so too.
Yeah, it wasn't her fault. Mm-hmm. Like when they're doing a shtick like this, where they have a book and they're adapting it and they're trying to be literal to the text and everything like that, like. Yeah. It's not her fault when she's not allowed to make the movie better by like deviating from the script. That's like the best thing an actor could do is deviate from the script and make the character more real if the script is bad. But like, that's not her fault at all. Yeah. It's not like her physical acting was bad.
Yeah, she got a Worst Actress nomination for this one and for Witches, which came out in the same year. I think her performance was good. Like it was delivered well. I think she did everything pretty. I was looking for bad acting in this movie and couldn't find it anywhere. I was like, this is a very solid performance. Shitty lines, but she didn't write them. She also changed her physical appearance quite a bit in this movie. Mm-hmm. Dee Reese straight up said that she was like, we wanted her to look sun-beaten. That's kind of the word she used. They put like a lot of makeup on to kind of make her look like she has terrible sunburn and a lot of freckles, red hair. And I actually didn't recognize her in the first scene either. Yeah, and then also I think her voice too was pretty different from how she normally speaks.
Didn't catch that.
She kind of had that grizzled, like, here I am out in the jungle. Like she kind of had that, like,
I chain smoke cigarettes.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're selling chocolates. What?
Any more?
Do you want to buy some guns?
You want to buy some death sticks? So pretty good in this movie, I thought. I got good rants. I actually thought it was fun when she was screaming at her editor, where she just tells him to go fuck himself a bunch of times on the phone. Like I thought those were good moments. The salt to talk back to your boss like that too, respect. And there was a lot of, we talked about cliches in this movie as well within the lines. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if there's been too many like old day journalist movies out. Whenever I just see a newsroom where everyone's kind of running around answering calls and like, you're off the story. Like, no, the story's got to be told. I'm getting like to a fatigue point with that. It's almost like a superhero movie at this point.
Boring.
Yeah, but
I don't know,
sort of like Zodiac and Spotlight are two of my favorite movies, and that's like the whole point of those movies, right? Is like newsroom stuff.
And that is important. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think with something like this, they did try to do something different with it, but I think it was just completely boring. I don't know how many more newsroom movies that can come out until people just get tired of it. It's like a Western at this point, I feel. Do you guys have a opinion about Ben Affleck and his character? It's an old flame. We spent a long time with Ben Affleck. Mm-hmm. I mean, how did it feel to see him again?
So that's one thing
on the big screen.
It's like this was billed as to me at least, it was billed by Jace. an Anne Hathaway and Ben Affleck movie, right? Where like
that's not just Jace. He's second build, I think, on this movie.
I was stoked. I was like, Benny Boy 2.0, let's go. Like, this is the first time that we've revisited, right? And like, because like Matthew McConaughey hasn't been in any other movies. Neither's Ben. And then Keanu Reeves was only in his season.
Oh no, Ben was in he was in the 70s movie.
Oh, it was in Dazed
what's
and Confused. Okay, so
Yeah,
this
right,
is
he
actually the
was.
third season we've had Ben in. But like in Dazed and Confused, the whole time I was like, oh my god, that's Ben Affleck. He's doing such a Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
This movie, it was weird. He was playing this like stoic, prim, proper, new-suited like DC political guy, and that's so not Ben Affleck to me. Like Ben Affleck should be like
Really?
a blue-collar dude.
I think he plays it well.
I think so too. My view of Ben Affleck, for better or worse, is smug prick, and I feel like he really played that really naturally. I think this is maybe like I see younger Ben as blue collar because that was kind of the roles he would play. But now that he's in his legacy stage, I kind of see him as that like someone who's really established, kind of like Gone Girl, where it was just too easy to see him as an asshole, someone who's just like really conniving.
Oh, totally, yeah.
And I think he fit this role like a glove. That scene where he's talking to the Secretary of State, where they're eating pie and making pie metaphors about manipulating the government, was the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever seen. He's like, sometimes you gotta scrape the pie with a spoon.
I didn't get a single fucking thing out of that scene.
I
at
thought that
all.
was the
I
most
swear to God.
coherent scene in the entire movie.
I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? And why are they eating
Yeah.
like this right now?
Why are they eating pie so menacingly?
And why with a spoon?
I was like, are these guys friends or are they enemies? What's going on?
I eat my pies with
Yeah.
a fork, right?
I don't know why he said eat it with a spoon. I think that scene, they were like really vaguely implying that they were going to pin everything on Anne Hathaway's character. They were like, oh yeah, frame her as like an assassin and we can pin everything on her and it'll all work out. And then you can be president someday.
You think
Yeah.
that you can plan these super elaborate international terrorist attacks that are perfectly framing other people and do it all through very vague poetic metaphors? Like,
I think when you're
isn't
eating
there
pie-
going to be some like water that leaks through that sieve at some point where like, oh, did you mean that with the
You
pie?
fucking told me it was a peach cobbler, dude. I thought, what?
No.
I thought that meant shoot the journalist.
Oh, fuck. Why'd you give me vanilla?
I was just talking about pie. What the fuck? Speaking of shoot the journalist, I mean, that end scene, I mean, we're jumping around, but like the end scene is where Ben Affleck.
Yeah, well, hold on.
Oh, do we want to wait?
I want to talk
We
about
can-
the end scene, but like
Okay, we can get. We can walk up to it.
99.9% of people have not seen this movie, right? So like,
Yes.
what happens is
Spoilers.
she goes, who do not watch this movie? She goes to Nicaragua because her dad has a gun shipment. Oh, she goes to Costa Rica because Costa Rica is supposed to because
Be
the government,
Adjacent, and they ship
the
them.
government is actually sending guns to the rebels in Nicaragua, but they're doing it under the cover, so they're actually like sending it to different countries first, who then ship it to Nicaragua for them. And so she's like shipping one of these things, and she gets down there and gets stranded because they're flying under the radar, literally, and everything like that. So she gets stranded down there, and then has to hop from country to country throughout the Central America and the Caribbean. And everywhere she goes, there's like Ben Affleck will randomly show up, or like other people she thinks are working for the bad guys, and so she has to like skip town, right? And like multiple places she goes gets shot up by like militants, and then eventually for like 45 minutes there's a filler episode in the middle of this movie, and nothing makes sense. And then at the very end, we can get to what Denali wants to talk about.
What? Okay. Also, very quickly,
Yeah.
she goes to an airport lounge, and every single important character in the movie was in that airport lounge in that one scene.
Yeah, what the fuck? I mean, it was also partially a setup, right? Because what they said when she goes to an airport lounge, I mean, this you guys, honestly, audience, you'll have to see this movie to figure out exactly what we're talking about, and read some synopsises. But she goes to the airport lounge, and they reveal that it was two different factions trying to influence her at the same time, which is why everyone was in that room. So you have the Max Epperson character in there, but you also have someone from the other faction as well trying to intercept her.
I didn't get that.
And including, both of the desk people too. They were both two different factions. You got the gun runners, you got the Sandinistas, and then the Contra people, and then the government people.
The French.
So
French government, yeah.
the French, yeah, with Jones.
I like that.
Kind of cool character.
Jones.
He was cool.
Yeah.
Jones is cool.
Good little payoff.
It turns out he was a good guy too,
Yeah.
wasn't he? Like he was just trying to help her the whole time.
There's a different movie from Jones's perspective where he's doing everything right, and this American is super paranoid and ditches him every single time she can get the chance.
Yeah, that was a weird scene where like her friend calls her and is like, Rosie Perez calls her and she's like, hey, there's a French operative who's going to help you. And she looks at Jones and realizes, like, connects the dots. That's the French operative. I'm going to run the fuck away. And like, why? Like, that was never explained. I think she just got scared and it was irrational.
He was French?
Which I think is the theme of the movie. Yeah. Because I think she says straight up, too. She was like, in ideal situations, people behaved ideally. And
That's
she
a
makes
great
a lot of wrong.
line.
That's
Like
a good line.
that should be the theme of the movie, but unfortunately, the theme of the movie is that this movie is complete nonsense.
Well, in ideal situations, we have ideal movies. And I think maybe the movie is a play off that theme, is that they made a fucking nonsensical movie.
So the joke's on us for watching it?
The joke's on us?
Damn.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, at the end
touche!
Okay, so anyways, at the end of the movie, Denali, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I thought that was
No, it's okay.
important context.
Yeah, we got to walk up, and we can walk back too. But I was just saying, like, at the end of the movie, Ben Affleck rendezvous with Anne Hathaway's character. They have they have like an affair together. Or I don't know if it's an affair because they're not in relationships, but they get together, and then he shoots her. It was a very shocking ending, and then she falls off a cliff and dies. And it what kind of made me mad about the ending was that they fed us an hour and 50 minutes of nonsense. In the last 30 seconds, they decided to go art house. And she just drops into the water, and it's
slow
like
motion.
playing dramatic music, and I'm like, you did not earn this. You did not earn this dramatic finish.
I read that everybody at Sundance laughed when this scene came on.
Really?
Because it was so shitty.
Oh no.
For those big dramatic moments, you don't want them to play in slow motion, right? Like, if your main character dies in a movie, like, you want the audiences to feel like, oh my god, this is exciting, this is like blood pumping, like, oh my gosh. You don't want to be like,
Yeah.
You have time to process your emotions really quickly. We don't want to catch you off guard. You know, it's like
reminds me
takes
of-
me out
yeah.
of takes me out of the movie. Literally, like I start looking around the room because I'm like, okay, this is boring. It took her like 2 minutes.
And they hit you with the opening monologue again, which,
Yeah,
you know,
Also didn't make sense.
Sure, she was
Yeah,
young.
you
Now
should-
she's dead.
Usually when they hit you with the opening monologue again at the end, it's supposed to be like, now I have this information, and the monologue makes sense, like they did in Gone Girl. But it didn't make sense twice, and it was bad twice. But that shot scene also reminded me of that what you say,
what you say?
SNL
Yeah.
thing where they get shot over and over again. It's slow motion every time. It was just it was comical, man. Like when you Google this movie, literally the first result is the last thing he wanted explained. And I think that is an indicator of like a massive failure of this movie. I don't think anyone really came out of there knowing what happened.
Absolutely, and it's not like a movie like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, right? Where like notoriously dense because the actual situation was there was 4 different moles or whatever in between Russia and the United States, and they were trying to figure out who's selling information to who, right? Like that's a very intricate situation. The situation in this actually is not that intricate when you really like break it down, right? There's like a woman who's drug running kind of by chance, and then there's like an agent who wants to kill her. Like, but everybody's confused because the information is purposefully obfuscated.
There didn't need to be all this other side plots and all these other weird scenes in here.
Exactly. I want the two of you, because you obviously not only watched this more recently than I did, but like you understand what's going on. From my perspective, she showed up to Ben Affleck, dropped her off at this house on the beach in a different country.
Oh my god.
And then was like, you work here now.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to clean rooms at this Airbnb in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is going to pay you a wage. Have fun. I'll see ya. Never. And then he drives off. And then she walks up. And I'm thinking, oh, wow. Okay, this is like her alibi, right? She's going to go missing. She works the job. There's like 40 minutes of content where she just cleans hotel rooms.
Well, I think it was a temporary situation because he says, "I'm going to pick you up in 1 to 2 days."
Yeah.
And we're going to get you out of here. He said to lie low there and just pretend to just be a worker, and then we'll get you out of here in like a day or two.
He was gonna Argo her eventually. He was gonna exfiltrate her. But I think Toby Jones, his character as one expatriate, but I think he was on a government shit list too. I think he was being kept there, and
the guy who owned the
guy
resort.
who owns the place. Yeah. And then it seemed like that was just a situation to put her in for a short amount of time because they were gonna.
Because like she hooks him up with another American who's lying low, who owns a hotel, and she works at the hotel.
What are you talking about?
That's the plot. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like
hooks. What?
He takes her to a hotel owned by
Ben
an
Affleck
expatriate
drops her off
that
at a
is
hotel that's owned by someone who's in the same situation as she's in.
Yeah.
And she just works there as a maid
for a few days until
for
he
40 minutes.
Well, it's.
Oh
but
yeah, they
it-
made it. That was
with them-
stupid. That was a stupid decision.
Right.
But she did have to wait there to get taken.
Yeah. The idea is that he's someone that can be trusted because he's also trying to lie low, and they're like, "Hey, there's a rich guy who's lying low. You stay here for like a little bit, and we won't tell him anything."
Ben Affleck did
and
not
then-
know that. I thought Ben Affleck was like, here's this hotel I know it's like off the beaten path, and she gets a job there to lay low, and then it turns out it's owned by an American who's doing the same thing, who also is wanted by the same people. And I was like, what are the chances? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
Right. But then there's the other aspect where you realize she's not being told everything because Toby Jones' character reveals that he knows her real name, not her alibi, because he calls her the wrong name.
So
and
Julie
then
caught
he
that,
also,
and I said, no, you misunderstood.
Wow.
Nice.
So Anne Hathaway shows up, and her real name's like Elena or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other worker there's another maid, has a name that's like pretty phonetically similar to that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you must have misheard him when the character said it. He probably said the name of the other person. And she's like,
Yeah,
no,
but then
I
there was
read
a
it in the
music spike.
subtitles, you idiot.
There was a music spike, the audio cue that something was revealed, and you don't always know what's happening in the movie.
Oh, yeah,
but they
that's
did
terrible.
they did do a spike when he said the wrong name, and then of course
It's like in a
he
video
gets
game when
iced,
you
just like
it's like in a video game when you hear the boss music
Boink.
and you don't see anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
the score in this movie was very disorienting for that reason too, because sometimes the music will spike and it'll be like, and then he said he wanted some bananas. Ding ding. Then I'm like, what was that? Was that anything? And sometimes it just like seems like it wasn't. And it seems like she's just kind of like writing something down really panicky.
Yeah. And like there was the one normal line of dialogue in the entire movie is he says, then in the morning, you need to go get some fruit. I want 2 papayas and a banana and an orange. And she's like, oh, I'll go get it from this place. And he's like, no, you go get it from the other market on 6th Avenue.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, what's the metaphor? I don't understand the metaphor. And it turns out there wasn't one. That was the only thing that anybody said in the entire movie that was actually literal.
It was just straight faced. It was like, oh yeah, this guy is actually anal about the fruit that he wants and how his day progresses. You have to
I
get
see.
it from where he wants
I didn't
it.
pick that up either.
And you're like, wait, really? Nothing
I thought it was another
about.
like pie metaphor.
I honestly think this movie, I mean, first of all, I had never heard of it before, even though it has this type of caliber people working on it. I feel like this movie is almost one of those real movies because Toby Jones shows up out of nowhere and just starts really chewing the scenery, gives like a really colorful performance for seemingly no reason. It was such a focus was on him where I was like, am I supposed to know who this guy is or something? It was bizarre. And then I saw, and the cinematography and little bits of this movie were pretty good.
Oh.
And I feel like it was almost made for people to be like, oh, I worked on that. Here's a couple clips. It looks great. Hire me. And I feel like this was a jumbled mess because of that, maybe?
The shot there were a lot of shots in this movie where I was like, wow, okay, very cool. The shot of the plane with like the purple nighttime sky with the hangar behind it when she's getting ready to get on the plane at midnight, it was just like beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Absolutely.
You get a still of it and you're like, whoa, oh my god. and then it's just taken away from you in a second, and then you're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I've been talking about Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy for so long. I do not know who Toby Jones is, and you guys like have just been referencing him like really casually. The only other movie I know him from is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Yeah, he's in that movie.
I did not realize that, but I've been talking about that movie. That's pretty funny.
The individual pieces of this movie should have worked. Like, I guess the sum of its parts was just I don't know. It was like a Megazord that just kind of turned into like this blob. Like each individual piece was sick. It's weird. This is one of the weirdest movies I think I've seen just because of that. Because at the end of the movie, I was like, there was a lot of really good things in here, but none of it worked. I don't know. Bizarre.
I think I agree. Like, yeah. Right? Like the movie was a less than the sum of its parts. And that's the
reverse gestalt.
Yeah. That's the opposite of what I want from a movie. Like, when I try to explain a movie to somebody, like why I really like it, it's often hard to put into words what I mean, because when I describe any one particular part, it's like, okay, that's cool, I guess. I don't understand what's great. But then that's the whole point of telling a story in an allotted period of time, is like, how well can you tell a story that makes sense, makes the reader feel like they know what's going on. And that's what this movie didn't have. Like each individual part was executed okay, but then like it's like what you guys were saying, is like they somehow hurt each other. That's really impressive. Like, so I mean, hats off to this movie, I guess.
So there's a snake and it's got Elvis hair, and then there's a Jesus Easter Bunny man, and a little girl finds him in the middle of the night. She sticks his finger in his wound because he makes her, and then this lady gets
but the joke really is like, those anthology movies, they are the sum of their parts. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And like, because there's no overarching theme, there's no overarching story. And so compare that to like Trick or Treat, which is an anthology still, but it's a connected one. And there's something about the whole connectedness that gives you a feeling when you watch them back to back to back. And like, that's something that this movie just did not either understand or just wasn't able to do. I don't know. I haven't read the book, right? So like, I have no clue whose fault it is.
I have heard the book is marginally better than the movie. I've read in some reviews, people are like, the book just kind of fleshed things out. Like they said the book is also purposely obfuscating what's supposed to be happening. It's like purposely unclear, but they do it in a way that's actually artful and still accomplishes the goal. You do know what's going on, but it's just kind of like done in an artsy way. So people who are fans, like I said, people who are fans of the book didn't like this movie. This movie is not a good representation of this Joan Didion book. I don't know. I heard like if you read the book after watching this movie, it makes a lot more sense. I had to like literally go back and just look at some synopsises and like some of these explanations too, to figure out what the fuck was happening with these interweaving plot lines. We haven't even touched like half of them.
Totally.
Just talking about it all this time too. And then, there's all these like funny guy reviewers. There's people it was on Rotten Tomatoes. They said it'll be the last thing most viewers want to. This is the movie is the last thing no one wanted. And then Roger Ebert said it was incomprehensible to almost an impressive degree. Not even a pause and rewind button on this Netflix original at the ready will help it make much sense.
I had that thought after the first monologue. I was like, so notably, you two will both rewatch scenes depending on what movie it is, either to further your understanding of it, or you liked it, you need to re-see it. I literally thought to myself after the first monologue, there is no way in hell I would ever get up to my computer to rewatch it, because it was incomprehensible and I hated every second of it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I did rewatch a couple scenes in this movie, but mainly because I thought there was like something wrong with my brain or something, because I would watch a whole scene and I'm like, I don't think I understood it. It's like when you read a book and you realize you weren't paying attention after like a whole paragraph. And I doubled back a couple times and I watched it 3 times. And then I was like, Amber, am I okay? Like, I don't think that made any sense. And who knows? Maybe in a future where these movies are more common, like maybe this is ahead of its time. Like there's a type of confusion core type of movie where, it's kind of like part of the shtick is to make a movie as fucking confusing as possible.
Like, why even have the daughter in the story. Like trying to
right?
show
Like,
that
what-
Anne Hathaway is becoming who she didn't want to be, which was her absent father, maybe by having to take these jobs and pursue her career. But what the fuck
we
does
go.
that add besides watching the little girl cry? It's like, save me 6 minutes.
At the end, it was sad. It emotionally grounds Anne Hathaway's character, who otherwise seems just like an efficient journalism machine. I
dude.
think.
We should probably talk about this on record.
Yeah.
I watched Die Hard for the first time last night.
Okay.
And that's I have the same complaint about Die Hard. Like, people built this movie up in the cultural zeitgeist, like, so much that
Yeah.
when I watched it with a fresh, like, high expectations, knowing that it probably didn't age very well, but, like, still, there was a lot of unnecessary content, and it was so long. Like, there's plot lines about a limo driver who did absolutely nothing and it took up like 5 minutes of content. And then there's like children involved. And like, man, oh man, like you could take
Same thing.
you need to take 20 minutes off of Die Hard and put it onto Predator. Made by the same guy.
Yeah, dude. I mean, same thing with this movie, dude. Like this movie, I was building up so much. Everyone's always talking about how good it is, and then I was so excited to see it, and then I saw it, and it wasn't very good. Did you guys ever hear about this movie like before
No.
the
That's
podcast
the joke.
at all?
That's the joke. Is like Jace told us. It's like,
Hey, this
we
movie
got a
exists.
Ben Affleck movie, and it's called this, and I'm like, when was it made? 1999? And
Yeah, that was my. It was like that fucking recent, and it's easily available to me for free. It's crazy.
Can we get reviewing? Can we
Yeah.
Let's do our meters, man.
I only have one other comment before we move on to the meters.
Please.
When I saw Ben Affleck in his suit and tie, and the first time he comes on screen, I was like, damn.
All right, who has the? Okay, wasn't it like Hathawayometer? We decided on something. Ann meter.
I'm apathetic to the meter name.
Okay. All right. Hathaway meter.
It
We can just
what
do
you're
that.
saying
I mean,
sounds
it's
close to
neutral,
what we
yes.
agreed upon, and what it's like tickling my brain, but it's not tickling it right.
It's not. You don't think it's quite right. Was it Hathawometer?
Where's the W coming from?
It's Hathaway, but you're not saying A.
Oh, there's a W in Hathaway. Man, I'm losing it. Can we just get on with it?
Thermometer?
Who has
Hathawameter.
the meter? Who has the meter?
Oh shit! Wait, no. I guess it's me.
It's not me. I do it
Yeah.
freaking every season, it feels like. And then I don't do it one season, and then you're like, well, let's have Ryan do it again.
We've rotated. Okay, Jace, you have the Hathaway meter.
That's just
Hathaway
just
meter.
saying Hathaway and meter.
Ooh, okay. This is a tough one. We are following.
This is
We are
hard.
following The Devil Wears Prada. That gave me a bit to work with, but the meter is still in development.
Yeah.
We didn't get a glow up in this movie.
It was kind of just the same glow.
Yeah, the whole time.
whole
Looked
time.
great, I think. Honestly, Anne Hathaway's makeup with the sunburn
Yeah,
was
pretty
that was
real.
on point for me. I think that besides the inane ramblings that were the lines that she was given, she was delivering well for me, and she was the major, I think, for the most part, the major plot focus. So time on screen and quality on screen, pretty good, pretty up there for me.
Yeah.
And then it all kind of just flies off the rails. I think she breaks the mold with this one. I think because the movie the movie flopped, it didn't allow her performance maybe to kind of be tonally different from The Devil Wears Prada and what, like, I guess for myself, I know the other movies that I know specifically that she's been in. So I just want to stop talking and give it a 6 on the meter.
The less said about this movie, the better. This is a really hard. This is a really hard Hathaway meter too, because, like we said, this is an atypical performance. I also think like she was able to go outside of her zone a little bit too, because like I feel like no one knows about this movie. Like I don't think this is gonna hurt her at all either. Even though the movie was really bad. But yeah, as far as my Hathaway meter goes, I was thinking about what her movies like occupy in my mind and what she occupies as an actress. And when you say like hard hitting like journalist, I feel like I could see her within a role like that. She seems like she could be like an intellectual role. But when it's kind of like almost like a Hemingway style, like she lives really hard. She goes out into the jungle, fucking cracks heads and goes out to do gun running deals. Like maybe that's not necessarily what I think of Anne Hathaway and the roles she's been taking. Aside from like Catwoman, I guess. So I think this one is going to be outside of the wheelhouse. She changed a lot of her appearance. She changed a lot of her like vocal stylings. I think this is a different type of acting she's done too, where it's like really rough around the edges. Also, the long monologues, I've never seen her do something like that in any of these movies. Again, just really bizarre. I think she was trying to break out of the mold and just kind of flex her acting chops in a way that she hasn't been able to do it in other roles. But for that reason, I don't think this is a very Hathaway-y movie, I feel. This one also doesn't really highlight her very much, I feel. Like even I don't know what percentage she was in the movie, but I don't think it was enough to really say it was an Anne Hathaway movie. I think her screen time was split between too many factors and too many people. So for me, this is going to be, I think, a 2. I'm going to give her a couple points because it was well acted, but her lines were trash, man. It was so fucking bad.
If I'm going now, I don't know exactly what to do either, right? Because this movie, it's so hard to separate her from my non-enjoyment of this movie. Sometimes when a movie is bad, I can still enjoy it, right? But I really just didn't enjoy watching this movie. And so I might have to institute a rule where, like, if the movie is bad, her score can't be very good, right? Like, just because I don't want to ever say, like, oh, she did a really good job, but the movie was absolutely dirt, so therefore 10 out of 10. But, like, I don't know what to do either, Denali, but I'm going to go with, like, a 4. My gut just says 4, and that's generous, right? I think that's going to be higher than the movie score because she did fine. I there's not really anything specifically that I'm like, well, if they would have chose someone else, this movie would have been better, right? Like she did everything she needed to do. But like, is this kind of a mark on her career where like she can't save the movie either?
Totally.
And that's all I have to say about that.
If someone's like, I'm such an Anne Hathaway fan, and I'll be like, oh, well, you're going to love this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like this isn't the movie where I'm going to be like, oh, you're a Hathaway fan? She is technically good in this movie, but like her performance is not very fun to watch, I feel, as well. And like what you said, Ryan, this is a rare movie where it's like it's bad and unenjoyable. It is completely like humorless, I feel, too, in some ways.
Yeah, there's no calm.
But yeah, I mean, let's get into our movie meters, man. We've been dishing on this movie for like the entirety of our podcast. Like at this point, I feel like people are getting an idea of what we fucking think about it. But let's sum it up, man. Let's give our movie reviews. Where are we sitting at with this dumper?
I hope that I never have to watch this movie again in my life. And I don't know what scenario. If for some reason I arise to some kind of fame and I get kidnapped in the future, put this thing on. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you everything that you want. I will wire transfer all the money out of my bank directly to you. The dialogue in this movie is so contrived and unnaturally robust that it is no surprise that it has a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. I could not understand what was going on for half of it. And then, like, what was going on visually, which I was trying to pick up on cues for the auditory cues, weren't meshing. The things that I did like about the movie, again, I think Anne Hathaway did all right. Ben Affleck played the he wears a nice suit and he sits like this and he talks in a slow, reassuring tone kind of way.
Yeah, not a very colorful performance from Affleck.
Which, I know, maybe he was pushed in that direction. I kind of wonder what after seeing it and seeing the reviews, like the director thought of it, because maybe this was an art piece for them, and I'm looking at it the wrong way. I think I would give it a point just for the shot of that plane and some of the camera work. But at that point, it really leaves it at, like, I think I'm being generous with a 2 for me. 2.
A 2. That is very merciful. this movie is also very hard to rate, just from like an objective standpoint. I also watched and Jason, actually watched an interview with the director for this movie. There was like a Netflix like commentary thing, and she was talking like pretty passionately about like how much she loved Joan Didion in the original book, and she wanted to keep it like as close to the original as possible. How much work they put into casting and kind of making directing the actors to act a certain way. And that's what's tough about this movie is I feel like a lot of care was put into like really specific things, but like, fuck, like it just didn't work out.
I can't imagine sitting down and having that interview and then literally everyone being like, wow, that was the shittiest way you could have used those actors. And you being like, I gave them all those notes.
It's also funny. Like I read, like I was like on Reddit, and when this movie was announced, you know, the cast, there was a little bit of a hype on our movies, and I was like looking at the comments on the trailer, and people were like, "Huh, the trailer isn't very coherent. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I hope, surely the movie is gonna make more sense." And the people were like, "Yeah, trailers usually like they're just trying to show you the best scenes and not supposed to make sense. Like you know, the movie's gonna make sense. Trust me." And like it was a lot of that, and people were like, "Oh, we're actually pretty hyped for this movie." I'm like, "Oh no." And then like reading some of the reviews from Redditors as well, like just because I was just curious, I was in that space. People were just like, yeah, this is really reassuring because I thought I had like a brain tumor and couldn't fucking understand what was going on there. And yeah, that was my reaction at the end of this movie. I felt empty. I felt kind of cheated. I felt like I could have had a good movie with some kind of edit, some kind of rewrite, something. I don't know. I'm not a movie maker, but it was so close to being there, and it was more of an insult somehow. I'm going to give it... I'm going to give it a 1 from an enjoyment standpoint. I think if I had to go objective, like if I was ticking boxes, I might give it like a 3 or a 4, but I just did not enjoy any aspect of this movie altogether. The other thing I read was that Ben Affleck replaced Nicolas Cage originally, and maybe that would have been more fun.
That would have been amazing. Try and tame that guy.
I think this movie would have had some more flavor. Yeah, not very good.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with you guys, and I don't want to, like, say the same things over and over and over, but if I had to, I would say that, like, this is technically done well, right, but it's flawed in its inception. Like, the idea is wrong. The idea doesn't translate to movies, and that's something I don't want to...
Inception.
I don't want to... Yeah, Inception's great. Inception's not flawed at the inception. And, but other than that, there's a couple things that I want to point out that like we haven't mentioned. The first time I usually take proficient notes. I take maybe 2 pages of notes every movie.
A dog
I
blew
didn't
up.
take notes. Oh, Jace, come on. I didn't.
You said things we
You're
didn't mention.
right. My first note was: did they take the time to train a dog to do that? Like in universe? Like there's a dog scene in this movie that is so out of place and so like out of nowhere, and everybody's just like, huh, okay, next scene, and like it's probably one of the most tragic things I've ever seen on my TV screen, and nobody blinks an eye, right? Like I don't even really feel comfortable explaining about what happened to this dog, but like in universe, do you guys think they actually took the people there are like, we're gonna take this we're gonna teach the dog how to run as fast as it can at this landmine when I do this very specific whistle, and they would have had to have like dummy landmines, right? Like that weren't to train the dog to do that, right? Like otherwise it would just be like, what do you want me to run towards? So they had like diffused landmines, and they train this dog to sprint at them. And that's how they test whether or not the landmines work? Like, I mean, how many other dogs do they have? Don't they do this shipment stuff like every week?
At least more than one. I mean, there is a long, unfortunate history of using dogs to do shit like this.
Well, right, but like logically, do they have a whole kennel and they have a dog guy who like spends literally 9 to 5 every single day training the dogs how to do that?
No.
Like, it's things like that make this movie terrible. It's like that reminded me so much of the scene from MacGruber where like the whole van full of guys explodes. And then, but that movie at least like deals with the repercussions in a funny way. This movie just went literally on to the next scene. She just walked away. That's pretty much it, except for the pacing. Like, I didn't know where in the movie I was at any point in time, right? Like, usually when you watch a movie, like, okay, I'm about halfway. Things are taking the turn. And, okay, maybe I'm 40 minutes from the finish. You know, the ending is starting. And this movie, I had absolutely no clue. Like, you could have said, oh, this is actually a mini-series, and this is a 2-hour first episode, and so there's 10 more hours of content. I'd be like, oh my God, thank God. Right? Like, this is always going to be explained. This is like watching the first episode of Twin Peaks or something. Like, nobody knows what the fuck is going on until it takes 30 hours to explain it to you. But, like, I don't know what to rate this movie. Like, it wasn't technically bad. A 2 seems more than fair, and I think I have to just land there.
Landmine it there. We got a triple crossover.
If we want to belabor this metaphor, this movie is the landmine. We are the dog.
Oh no!
The whistle is putting Ben Affleck in the advertisement.
You would have to find a movie to substitute in for Anne Hathaway, but just watch Argo and War Dogs if you would want to have a better time and cover similar content.
And if you're a Tom Cruise fan, American Made is like a very similar idea.
So we got the dog season, Ben Affleck season, and Anne Hathaway in one movie. So we have a GBGB essential. If you just want to kind of get an idea.
Mark it down, baby. This goes in the top 3.
And we just came off the dog kicking episode of Point Break. Just got a lot of, whenever there's a dog shout out, it's always just a terrible animal.
Dog scene in Point Break. Oh my! And John Wick, dude. Oh.
And John Wick. So we've had a couple unfortunate dog crossovers. I'm hoping just for a good dog crossover at some point, like just a one that's like good vibes.
And even in Halloween, unfortunate dogs.
Yeah, that was a crossover as well. I would love just Michael Myers to show up in one of these like Iran-Contra espionage movies. And then
dude, that's an amazing twist. Like, secretly make a Halloween movie and just advertise it like a normal movie, and then halfway through, Michael Myers comes out of a broom closet and just starts stabbing the main characters.
That'd be great. There was a indie movie that did that, because I remember hearing about it on a podcast once, where like it was a comedy where it was like a rom-com, like a regular romantic comedy, and at the 45-minute mark, a zombie apocalypse happens, and there's a total tonal change, like 100% different. It's like a brutal zombie apocalypse survival movie, but there's no jokes. But that's like the comedic premise, is that you end up getting really invested in this guy's relationship.
That's how I want to start Lobster King. The first 20 minutes is like an actual drama about like interpersonal relationships and these guys who work at a deli, and yeah. And then like, what's that? And they turn on the news, and it's like, a hurricane full of lobsters.
So a lobster flies through Stanley Tucci's head just in one scene. Exactly. And they're like, what the fuck? And another lobster goes through like this Gucci suit. Yeah, that's a good movie. Fuck, this movie, and I feel it in our review too, just from us just talking about it, I feel like it's just a draining force. Like, there was so much to absorb, but then there was just so much about it that was just difficult to absorb that my brain just can't wrap around it.
Well, then I think you're in luck, because you're picking the next movie.
Yeah. You know what? Thank God it was a Netflix original, because that means they just got paid a base amount. The box office bust didn't matter.
We didn't reward that movie, and I hope Dee Reese does continue to make movies. I heard Mudbound and the other movie she made was really good. Sometimes sometimes it just doesn't work for whatever reason. I think these other actors are going to be fine, man. I don't think anyone even knows about this. So yeah, I mean, we saw, hopefully our worst Anne Hathaway movie. But I'd like to take us to the beginning, if we may, to the dawn of the Hathaway Empire with the regal Princess Diaries. I want to see where Hathaway mania started. The fictional princess of the land of, was it Monrovia? It was like a fake country, I think.
Monrovia is a real place, isn't it?
It sounds real. Let me see.
I'm just gonna derail this completely. Okay, cool. Yeah. Princess Diaries, whatever. Yes. The fact that you didn't just say, "Wow, you know what movie we're gonna watch?" It's how I felt during this movie. Les Miserables. So if we don't get to use that anytime later in the season, I'm gonna be pissed off.
I felt Les Miserables with this. Princess. That's just too. It's too much. It's too far. Princess Diaries 2001. I actually, I said before that I watched this in theaters. I actually saw Princess Diaries 2 in theaters. I've never seen this one. This will be.
You've never seen the first movie,
but I saw the second one.
Okay.
Second one's kind of self-contained, but she is the heir apparent of a small European principality of Genovia. Yeah, well, I think this will be tight. I want to see. First of all, I want to see this movie because it's kind of like a 2000s classic too. People kind of refer to it a lot, and also this is like the come up. This is her first, I think, major film debut too. So join us next week. I hope this is. I know this is going to be more enjoyable, at least at some baseline level. It's on Disney Plus. If you guys need my login, I can give it to or whatever.
Dang, man, you got everything.
I think we're gonna enjoy this one.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna look.
Join us next week. As us three dudes, adult dudes, are gonna be watching Princess Diaries.
This fucking movie's an hour and 55 minutes too.
What the fuck? You can't have kids sit in a theater that long. How long was Princess Diaries 2? Dude, I don't think I took a pee break for that one.
Yeah, and you take a pee break like every 20 minutes, dude.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was known as the piss guy in morning classes for lectures. Like, people would meet me and they'd be like, "You're the guy who gets up to pee twice every lecture." Hour 55 for Princess Diaries 2 Royal Engagement. Maybe that'll be for another episode. But we hope you guys will join us. Let us know what you think about this movie. If, like, after you listen to this review and you want to see it later, just please let us know. We're not going to condone that, but if you're just morbidly curious,
free.
Also let us know what you think of Princess Diaries. Yeah, it's free. Fuck it. You know, pour a drink, light up a blunt, and watch The Last Thing He Wanted. Anyways, so where can they find us?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I feel like we're falling apart.
Falling apart. You can find us where the internet meets the finger traffic of your cell phones in a way that is separative from the environment of your usual surroundings on the Twitter space. And I feel like that's how they would say that in this movie, but probably would sound better. Find us on Instagram at Good Boys Gone Bland and on TikTok at
Good. I think it's Good Boys Gone Bland. I think we're good. You could probably just find us by looking up any of those.
Google Good Boys Gone Bland. If you're listening to this,
just Google
you
us.
Know that.
Leave us a review on Spotify, because I don't know if we have any Spotify reviews yet, and they allow those now. Just slam that 5-star button, slam it into your phone, and then write down something whatever you want. You can write whatever you want, and we'll read it on air.
Oh, we will.
Probably.
I haven't checked the email this past week, so if we
got
a fanfic,
we can check the fanfics.
I apologize.
Yeah, I think I just checked. We don't have any fanfics yet.
Everyone's too scared.
We'll read them on air.
If you're listening to this, I know you're too scared to write a
cowards.
fanfic.
Thanks for coming by. And what should we leave them at? As
we should
always,
have ended 5 minutes ago instead of this inane rambling.
We could come up with we could do a bit where we like one word at a time, one word sentence, and we could come up with a last thing he wanted ism.
Oh yeah, so we can come up with the actual last thing he wanted.
Or a metaphor.
Oh.
I'm saying like how they talk in poems in this movie.
Okay, start us off.
Oh, spaghetti.
Always.
Right.
Gilbert.
A.
Manifesto.
On.
Every.
Second.
Tuesday.
During.
Recess.